Good people, what's going on? We are back. Welcome to Be the People. I am your humble host, Lawrence Sanders Jr., and I thank you for joining me tonight. It's always a privilege to be here with you guys. If you are driving home, please be safe. Keep your hands on the wheel. But if you are with me, drop a comment. Let me know you're here. Give you a shout out. Real brief, give a shout out to my family, the Sanders family. They were on with me last week, which was cool. It was dope to see some of them on. I even saw that at the end. I think that was my dad that was on. I need to call him and tell him thank you. Good to see him. But yeah, drop a like in the comment, drop a comment. Y'all, we are continuing our journey talking about the United States Constitution, and I'm not going to talk too long about what we did last week. If you want to know what's up with what happened last week, go watch the video because tonight we got a treat. We are on the Second Amendment. We're talking about the executive branch. Y'all, this is good stuff. And as we know, real quick, the executive branch, just a brief definition for those who failed history class or for those who paid attention. It carries out and it enforces the laws. And as we know, the leader of the executive branch is our president, right? So tonight, I got a treat. Hey, Shantae, what's up? TFG Media, good to have y'all in the house tonight. So as we know, the United States president is the head of the executive branch. And so tonight, we got a treat for y'all. We have I bringing on a few friends, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about our president. We'll talk about just a few things. Just where you at. If there's anything you want to add to the comments, you want to drop it in the comments, yo, drop it. We got questions. Drop it. I'll try to get to them as we have time. Kendrick, thank you for joining me. It's good to see you, man. Let's go. So tonight we have Chad Jackson, good friend of mine from high school. I don't want to call him Mr. Uncle Tom himself, but he has a movie out, and the movie is actually really good. It's really good. The movie is actually about the Black Republican movement, if I can call it that. Go see it. It's called Uncle Tom. It has a lot of good information. It's very interesting perspective. If you want to challenge your perspective, and we have none other than our beloved. He's no stranger to TFG Media. We have our Mr. Brenton Haynes himself in the flesh decided to join us tonight. I appreciate y'all coming on tonight. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And I'm just really looking forward to opening up some dialogue. So let's get straight to it. So my first question is, we're talking about the executive branch. And the first question that I have, and I'll give it to you first, Chad, is about, I understand you're a Republican. I understand that. I understand kind of like, we have history. We've had conversations. We've had dialogue. As of right now, from here to about 4 years back, how effective do you feel like our president has been up until this point? And then we'll just start there. How effective do you feel like our president has been?
My short answer is that I think President Donald Trump has been very effective, not only for Black Americans, but for Americans in general when it comes to the policies. I think that he hasn't gotten a fair shake in terms of the way that he's covered in the media. It's clear to me that the media is very biased in the way that they cover people who disagree with them versus people who they don't agree with, and so they have this way of shaping the narrative in such a way that even the good things look bad and even the bad things look good, depending on who it is that you're dealing with. So yeah, to shorten the answer, yes, I do believe that he has done things that are beneficial for ordinary American people, Black, white, Hispanic, whatever the case may be.
Okay, so I have a follow-up question to that then. Yeah. And then Brenton, I'll get to you. So do you feel like a lot of that perception is self-inflicted? Do you believe that a lot of the perception that you speak of, do you feel like that's something that he's brought on himself? Or do you feel like that's just the media trying to paint him to be something that he's not?
I think there's a little bit of both, if I'm being honest. I'm not going to lie. He definitely is an unorthodox candidate and president. He's not exactly the most polished candidate.
Amen to that.
There's a lot of formalities that he doesn't really comply with. And so, because of his brashness, because of his bravado, his New York bravado, there's a lot that's off-putting for a lot of people. And I'm not, going to deny that. At the same time, I do believe that there's a concerted effort to cover him and his policies negatively. And so, when you have a combination of the two, of course, you have a perception that a lot of people buy into that he is incompetent and all these things. But I think when you look at the policies, when you look at things that he's actually doing, you'll find that, hey, I mean, he might not be the most polished package, but he's actually doing some positive things when we really break it down.
Got you. Okay, so to you, Brenton, I ask you, how effective do you feel up until this point our president has been? If there's something specific that you want to share, that's like, okay, he's doing this, because I do have some follow-up questions based on what you said, Chad, and we'll kind of unpack it a little bit. So how do you feel about it?
Yeah. If he is the leader of the executive branch, then we have a problem with execution. Right. So for me, I think I don't disagree with Chad as it relates to some of the things he said about Trump. He's definitely unorthodox. He definitely is has no shine on that polish. And at the end of the day, again, one of the points that Chad makes is about his policies, which I hear that. I have an issue that I want to contrast with that to see the balance in this moment, because I'm really interested in someone's sincere perspective, as well as how the media covers Trump. I don't disagree with Chad in that. I do believe they have a lot of them have bias, but at the same time, if the covering of the media is like a sheet, well, then the Republicans cover him like a blanket on how they allow him to get away with things that logically no other human being on this planet, whatever position they hold, would have nearly had the amount of opportunity that he has had in covering up some of the things that he's done. So I'll keep that short.
Would you say that there's no accountability within the Republican Party based on that statement? When it comes to when it touche. Okay. So now I do have a follow-up. I have a follow-up question.
Well, let me balance that before you finish that. Let me balance that with this. I don't believe the Democrats or the Republican hands are clean, neither side. So I don't want nobody to misunderstand me tonight. If I speak about something, I'll speak about specific questions. But as it relates to Democrat or Republican, both of them got a rock in the hand. They're gonna throw it in the glass house, as far as I'm concerned. So we playing in dirty water right now. You know.
Got you.
My man said he's gonna drain the swamp, but got a little swampy.
So I have a follow-up question, and especially in Chad, you mentioned this. You mentioned Trump's support of, or his effectiveness concerning the Black community.
Uh-huh.
It from your perspective, explain what that, like, what does that look like? What does that look like? And real quick, I want to shout out. I think I just saw my little sister on here. My baby sister Kirsty is on here. For all those who just joined, hey y'all, Be the People, the executive branch. We were talking about Donald Trump with Chad Jackson and Brenton Haynes. So my follow-up question is this: you mentioned
that's Stephen A. tonight.
Yeah, Stephen A. So my follow-up question is: so how? Because I feel like we as a Black community, I'm having issues seeing it. How has Donald Trump helped our community from your perspective?
Yeah. So, there's a verse in the Bible that talks about, and I'm a Christian, so first and foremost. So there's a verse in the Bible that talks about, when you look in the mirror and see the smudges on your face and then you walk away and don't really make any changes. I think that as believers, specifically Black believers, it's up to us to look what's going on in our own culture and correct things that are not really working to our benefit, that are actually working to our detriment.
We've
And I
had
think
that
we have to be
conversation. Right.
right. And I'm so basically we have to be open and honest about things that we need to do to get our stuff together, in a sense. And I think every culture has messy stuff going on. But specifically as Black people, we need to focus on what are the things that we can do to get our stuff together to try to shorten the gap in some of these disparities that are going on. You could argue whether it has to do with systemic racism. You can argue whether it's cultural, but as we all know, whenever a mess doesn't get cleaned up, it festers and then it worsens. And so what are some of the things going on culturally that we need to do? I think one of the things that we need to do, specifically as Black leaders and Black Christians, is focus on empowerment. We need to empower ourselves. We need to empower each other. We need to empower Black youth. And so it does help whenever we have policies in place that help us to that end. And so what are some institutes of empowerment? Well, HBCUs. Donald Trump has implemented policy that funds HBCUs more than any president who preceded him, Barack Obama included. President Trump, with the help of Tim Scott, a Black senator from North Carolina, helped implement opportunity zones, which basically it allows tax breaks for people who invest in Black communities and low-income communities as well. And so when I look at all the different situations and all the different policies that are geared toward Black empowerment, I think that whenever we are self-sufficient, whenever we are all about Black entrepreneurship, Black youth being educated, Black trade, Black business, when we're geared toward those things, that can help us better than any other kind of government policy. That can help us better than any kind of program or fill in the blank. And so whenever I see policies that help to that end, I support those policies. I know that's a long-winded, answer to your question, but
Sure.
Can we dialogue? Can we dialogue?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
This is Be the People. Sorry.
Yep. Yeah, I know it. And we the people gonna be the people. So listen to me. Chad, I want to say this first and foremost. I sincerely appreciate your perspective. You know why? Because I've never heard anyone take the talking points that you made and explain to me why you make them. And let me tell you what I hear you saying, and you correct me if I'm wrong, right? So basically you say Trump's policies has assisted in the Black community's ability to move forward independently.
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
That's what I'm saying, yes.
I hear what you're saying, and I've never heard anybody give that type of explanation to that point, because for the simple fact is everybody thinks you're supporting him, that you're Uncle Tom. No, the position that you just took was that you thought you're saying that Trump is giving us the tools that we need to be more independent.
To help ourselves.
I've never heard anybody explain that. Okay, but your wheels kind of got misaligned for me a little bit when you hit me with that Christianity. What they say? I like this guy. He has an open invitation.
I think that's Lamar, but that's Lamar, bro.
Yeah, that's Lamar. So watch this. So Chad, I feel like you had an alignment. I feel like an alignment went off on me though when you hit me with that Christianity.
Okay.
And the only reason so I'll tell you what I want to say first and foremost. I applaud the position. I actually have no problem with your position about Donald Trump, because you're saying Donald Trump is not giving us a handout. He's giving us assistance to make us more independent.
Absolutely.
I hear you. But my problem is although you don't bite the hand that feeds you, I have a problem with the hand that's being given to us. And so in all honesty, I agree with you in its on the surface. I don't appreciate the Christianity aspect of it, because I appreciate So as a Christian, I wouldn't say I support Trump because of what Trump does. I say
Right.
I would support Chad's positioning on what he appreciates about Trump. But my only question is, Chad, about this, about why you support him though. I don't support him. I appreciate what Chad said, but I don't support him only because, Chad, if he is helping us make money, he's still letting his people kill us so we can't enjoy our money. That's my only issue with what you just said. Like I appreciate the fact it's almost like you let the cows out the field, but then you start shooting at them as they go, and you like, well, dang, as long as I make it, it's cool. The policy, but what about the other cows? That's my issue with this.
Got you. I understand. Respectfully, though, what I would be interested in genuinely is evidence of this idea that he supports us being killed, and by whom.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So in the position, and since you use the scripture, I'll use the scripture. This is what I want to say. If you see the Good Samaritan, how about that one? That's simple enough, right? If you see somebody hurting, you help them. There were two people that passed him. Okay, this ain't that kind of show, but I'm just saying.
I see where you're going. I definitely see where you're going. Absolutely.
This is my issue though. Like he's there. If you're okay, here it is. If you got a problem with us kneeling to the flag, if you want us to stand up, y'all speak up. I just said something now. I know we ain't chat about. So
I like that.
If y'all want us to stand for the flag, if you want us to stand up, then y'all speak up. That's my issue, Chad. Nobody's speaking up, and it's just that simple, right? Because guess what? As much as he support what just happened in Beirut and clearly gave his support to those people, man, he struggles. He stumbles through the graveyard to try to tell us that he's willing to not say that there's good people on both sides. He stumbles through the fact to say that, man, wait a minute, matter of fact, this way, it's so fun. He will send his best wishes to Ghislaine Maxwell, but he'll say he don't know how nothing to say about John Lewis.
John Lewis, right.
I got an issue with that position, bro. Like, it's cool. Listen, man, I'm telling you, if everybody thought the way you did about his policies, I don't argue that no more with y'all. My issue is, why support him, though, especially as a Christian, when he does not walk that fine line of Christianity. I like that. You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask this.
What's that? Yeah.
So let me ask this then, because I feel like that's an excellent segue. Because again, I'm trying to keep this to 30 minutes, but I got a feeling it may go longer than that, which is good.
You're gonna get long-winded.
Right. This is why when Dad and I talk, we go like 3 hours. You know what I'm saying?
3 hours long.
So check this out. So with that, so with that, as you know, okay, so from a believer's perspective, but also from a person who is in culture and society, we talk about our ability and our power to vote. So my next question is, and I'll throw this to you first, Brent, since you went last. Do you feel like he's earned another term? And if so, what has he done to earn another 4 years in Washington?
Okay, so I'm gonna answer the question quickly. Of course not. But if he gets another 4 and the Democrats get the Senate, he will beg for mercy. And I'm gonna just tell you, I as a person who doesn't mind a little drama, if he wins, I would love to see the Democrats out of the Senate and the House, and then we're gonna really see how much fun they're gonna have in.
And it's funny you say that, because last week we talked about the legislative branch, right? And so we know that the House is predominantly Democratic, and then the Senate is predominantly Republican. But there could be a serious swing, right? So
I actually would like to see that, to be honest with you, instead of getting out.
It would kind of be almost like Barack Obama's term, huh? Kind of.
No, it'd be like Greenleaf. Greenleaf. Oh no.
The drama.
He's getting impeached. Oh, he's getting impeached, Doc. And listen, they're gonna be the first one to get thrown out.
Right.
Oh no.
So let me ask you, Chad. Do you? I feel like I know the answer, but do you feel like he's earned, not necessarily he deserves another term, but has he earned another term?
I would say yes, and the reason I say that is because, like, I mean, you opened the segment by saying that I'm a Black Republican, and you're right in saying that. But for me, in 2016, during the Republican primaries, Donald Trump wasn't my choice. You know what I mean? There were, out of all
Mm-hmm.
16 candidates, he was my dead last choice. And the
Who
only
got
reason I
Jeb
ended up
Bush?
voting for him, sorry,
I said, who
I'm
was
sorry.
it? Jeb Bush?
No, it was actually Dr. Ben Carson, was my choice, my first choice, and then it was Carly Fiorina, and then from there it was Ted Cruz. But
Consistent. I appreciate that.
yeah. So my dead last choice was Donald Trump, and when it came down to him and Hillary, with her stance on abortion, with her stance on, and dealings that she had with raising money for Haitians for relief, and then spending that money on her daughter's wedding, that just didn't really jive well with me. So I voted for Donald Trump reluctantly, but over the course of this past 4 years, looking at the policies again. Um, that is the reason why I decided, you know what, I'm all in for Trump in 2020. You know what I mean? Proverbs 11 says, God detests weighted scales, but he detests weighted scales, but he takes delight when we weigh fairly. And so we have to look at like what he's done. I mean, rhetoric. That's the thing. Rhetoric can be construed one way or the other, especially when the media is covering it. And so to say, well, he said this or he said that, I mean, like what I always challenge people to do is go back and listen to the whole segment, because anybody can take bits and pieces of what somebody said and make it look like they said something terrible. But when you look, I mean, for example, whenever he said that there's fine people on both sides, um, after the Charleston rally, where I think a Black
Mm-hmm.
Lives Matter protester died. If
Was
you
ran
actually look
over. Yeah,
back,
it was actually hit. Was ran over or something like that.
right, yeah. When you look at the actual full, speech of what he said, he actually overtly, what's the word? He basically denounces neo-Nazis, white supremacists 3 times in that whole speech. And so he was actually talking about people who were in that town, who were trying to keep the statues and all those things, not for like they're racist or whatever past, but just because like these are historical monuments and we want to keep those historical monuments. So I mean, I think like we can get into rhetoric and all that, but I think when you weigh the scales one way or the other, because you already don't like the fact that he's a Republican, or you already don't like the fact that he said this or that, instead of looking at the actual policies, that's what I'm looking at to determine whether he's earned a second term, in my opinion, or not. So.
Okay, so real quick, I just want to interject. I would say this from my perspective. I would say I don't think anything is wrong with being black and being a Republican. I mean, because they've always been amazing black Republic. Like, just because you're black, you don't necessarily have to be Democratic. It's just like, we talk about that on this show. What ideologies do I identify with? And you would be surprised. Like, I have some Republican type ideologies, you know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't necessarily consider myself, a Democrat or a Republican. The issue that I have, though, and I think a lot of people are sharing, is that it's not so much of him being a Republican. There are things that he is doing that he says, whether it's his Twitter account, whether it's something he says nationally, there's always something that he's saying that is just like, and then there always has to be a follow-up to, well, that's not what he meant. Like that's not what he meant. And so to have a president, the commander-in-chief, to where like we have to have a translator every time he says something, like that's not good for us. I don't think that's effective. I don't believe.
But you know how media works, though, right?
Well, I mean, and if we took the
media
media
like
out
you
of
work, well, no, because like you worked, like you're a musician. You know what I mean? Like, how you have the ability as a musician, as somebody who worked in film, whatever the case may be, to edit something in such a way that a narrative is portrayed. I never watch CNN. I never watch Fox News. I don't even listen to conservative or liberal radio. I always watch C-SPAN. That's where I get my news from, because it's long form. You get to see the context in which something is said. And I kid you not, and the same thing was true about Barack Obama. When you watch a long form discussion or press conference or speech of any politician or what goes on in the House or in the Senate, and you are able to conceive of what is being said because you're watching the whole thing, and then later that night during prime time you see a segment or you see little sections that are being portrayed for all the people who are getting off work and didn't have the luxury of watching the long form segment of what happened. Like a narrative is being like the media is telling people what to think about this, that, and the other. So it's not necessarily that Trump said something that he has to walk back. It's that, you know what I mean? You can take uh, certain things that were said throughout that whole hour long segment and make a person look bad. And so what I challenge people to do is to actually go and look at the long form segments, go back and watch C-SPAN and some of these other, you know, because we as the American people, we have the ability to, like, we're supposed to be watchdogs. I'm not a Trump cheerleader, and I don't support everything that he says, regardless of what he said it, because it came out of his mouth. If there's something that he said that I disagree with, I want to voice that. And if you ask me about it, then I want to share those concerns. But at the same time, I'm not going to say that I'm not going to allow my psyche and my opinion on the man to be shaped by what CNN said, what Saturday Night Live said, what Trevor Noah said, or any of the others, because I know they have a bias and it's their job to shape the narrative and to get you to think a certain kind of way. I'm not saying that you're guilty of that. I'm just saying that
right.
as the masses, that's what, like, we're basically regurgitating things that we've taken in from the idiot box, from the TV, from social media. We're not doing our own homework, and that's what I have a problem with.
What you got, Brent? Hey, real quick, y'all. My mama on. Hey, mama. Good to see you.
Hey, mama, get off about 2 minutes. Come back.
Listen. She cutting up in this comment section. Y'all pray for Michelle Norman. Sam. That is my mammy. Y'all pray for her because she cutting up over here in this comment section. All right, Brent, what you got, man?
Chad, man. Okay, just keep it 100. Trump is a horrible leader. I want it. Okay, so let me talk about this, Chad. I mean, because I got a question. You said two things, and again, I'm with. Listen, I respect your position outside of you laying foundation with scripture with him, because I hear you giving us the ill morale for the Democratic side, but I don't. So I want to ask this question fairly, so I won't put words in your mouth. You said that if you hear something about Trump that you disagree with, you'll speak on it. So I want to hear a really good one from you. Like, what is something that you disagree with Trump about? So before I make my statement, because I don't want to misrepresent.
Yeah, so I don't agree with Donald Trump's LGBT policies. I don't agree with specifically, when I say LGBT, I specifically am talking about transgender policies. There's a myriad of things I don't agree. Again, I'm not a person who is going to share everything that Trump says on Twitter or on Facebook. I never share anything from his campaign because I'm not a person who is willing to take pom-poms and back everything that he says merely because I'm a Republican and I have to back the R.
Yeah, because that Twitter account, boy, will get you. Listen, man.
Okay.
This man put stuff out on Twitter where it's.
So I see you gave me a shave of ice on that one.
Let me kind of rewind. I think I should make a point of information when I say LGBT. When I say LGBT, like, I'm not against, gay people getting married or anything like that. I'm not against, lesbians and gays having the same freedoms and rights that I enjoy. You know what I mean? But specifically as it relates to normalizing transgenderism, especially when it comes to kids, that's what I take issue with. And I don't see him putting that message out there. But at the same time, I know a lot of the policies that he has backed with regard to that in particular hasn't been consistent with my own views. So just wanted to kind of get that point of information.
All right, cool. So I appreciate that. I believe that I'll take you for face value that you don't defend him. So then I want to debate this point because I feel like we glossed over it, but I feel like it's a staple to kind of now begin to either bridge this gap or we're going to open up this canal. So how do you, because you sound like you're just a policy man, and I'm okay with that, but how do you then give policy to morality where he'll give us education to the HBCUs, but the campus security guard can choke us out or shoot us, and he won't say anything. How do we get to that place? You good? Okay. Huh? No, I got it. Yep. Thank
I
you.
mean, that's a good question.
So
I got you.
how do you balance that, Chad? Because that's
Well,
gonna
I
set the
mean,
divide
so
for us.
so again, we have to weigh with honest scales. Whenever
Okay.
a black person has died at the hands of a police officer or what have you, President Trump has spoken out against it. I mean, the most recent
Whoa.
case, well, I think there's been maybe one or two since George Floyd, but he spoke out against the killing of George Floyd. And he said that the police officer should be held accountable for his actions. And so, but we don't talk about that. The media doesn't talk about that. And so I don't see evidence of him condoning black people being shot or killed by police officers. I don't see that. And
Okay.
I think where a lot of people and this is the last point I'll make on this particular subject, but I think where a lot of people are getting that perception or that idea is this notion that President Trump is pro law enforcement. I do believe that being pro law enforcement and being anti police brutality can exist in the same space. Why do those have to be opposing views?
Say it one more time. Pro law and what?
I don't, I don't, I don't concede to this idea, and I'm not saying that you're making this point, but I think that this is
Hmm.
where a lot of people misconstrue President Trump's stance on Black lives. Um, a lot of people believe that for Trump to say that he's for law and order, that he's for law enforcement, is the same thing as saying that he's anti-Black lives. I don't think that those two have to. I do believe, because my position is, I'm pro law enforcement. I know people who are law enforcement. I have family members who are in law enforcement. I do believe you can support law enforcement, but be anti-police brutality in the same space. That those two things can exist in the
Absolutely.
same room.
Absolutely.
Um, and I don't like the fact that we're moving in a place as a society where it has to be one or the other, that you have to choose one or the other. Donald Trump has
Okay.
never said anything that I can think of that is that lifts up and boosts. There's a Tupac song, Changes, where he says, um, you know, pull the trigger, kill a nigga, he's a hero. Talking about police officers. Cops don't give a you know what about a Negro. Pull the trigger, kill a nigga, he's a hero. Um, I don't see Donald Trump giving badges of honor to police officers who kill black people, either with his verbiage or otherwise. And so
Hmm.
people
And you think that's
believe that
enough?
because he backs law enforcement, that is his sign of or his stamp of approval on black lives dying at the hands of police officers. I don't see any evidence of that. You know what I mean? Why
I,
does
Okay.
it
I
have to
Fair
do
be this
I
enough.
do
false
have some
dichotomy?
evidence. I do I would say I have somewhat of some damning evidence, if you will. For example, we talk about not so much we talk about the significance of civil rights and black people. And we talked about this last week on Be the People. We talk about how he didn't come pay homage to John Lewis. And to say like, oh, like he doesn't, you know, he's not against, black lives, yet he doesn't you didn't show up to one of the giants of the civil rights movement who, although was on the other side of the aisle, advocated for people like us. Like you didn't it didn't matter enough for you to come and pay respect to him. I mean, and even if he served as a government official for years and was effective in change, and you didn't show up. To
Mhm.
me, that's very telling of how you see and how you feel about us. I mean, I get policies are cool. I get it. That's cool. Yet at the same time, when there are opportunities that present themselves where you can say this. I mean, I remember when he was talking about Colin Kaepernick and he took a knee and was like, in so many words, he was like, get that son of a bitch out of here. Because Colin was like, I'm taking a knee because of this. Like it's things like that we see that happen, and it's like, well, no, Donald Trump is down. Like he like black people, he cool with black people. Yet at the same time, when it comes to black people, it's very gray. It's very gray. It's not, hey, no, this was wrong, or no, he has the ability to do this. His constitutional right is this, and so we don't have that
Okay,
from him. So now, go ahead.
I gotta keep plowing though, because again, I'm seeing if it's a bridge
Yeah,
or
please do.
canal. So
Please do.
so this is my thing. I heard what you said. I listened intently about his response. My issue with that, as a fellow Christian, is his inconsistency.
Mhm.
Okay, that's my problem with him, and that's a fact. But another thing, because you're making and I'm going to take, I'm on your court, and I'm gonna play your game, and I'm not saying that being sarcastic. I'm saying like I'm
No,
on
I
your
understand.
court because I want to deal with what your, yeah, where you at. So,
I
so
follow
when
you.
you take him, yeah, okay, when you take what he's doing and what he's saying, and you say I separate the two, right? That's what you're telling me. My issue with that, bro, is he saw a problem at HBCU. They were underfunded, right?
Well,
He didn't do what a, yeah. Go ahead.
just as a point of information, I'm not separating the two.
Oh,
Well,
you're
what I'm
not
saying
separate.
is,
So what?
no, no, I'm saying that a lot of the things that he says is misconstrued. Um,
Okay.
and so I'm not saying that, oh, he's over here saying this one thing, but he's doing this other thing. I think there are consistencies. It's just not covered by the media,
Oh,
who is,
well,
you know what I'm saying?
well, it's okay. Well,
Go on,
to that
go on.
point,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna tell you this.
So that
This is
changes
my
the
thing.
narrative. I got you.
Everything.
I'm with you.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with you with the news how they cover him, but you can't misconstrue his own words.
His own words, his
Like
very
he
words, and
has
that's
said
right.
some things. He has said things, sir, that I'm I would be very hard pressed for you to say you give him a moral pass. I mean,
Hmm.
again,
Like
everybody
in
got a
its full
pass, but
context,
we're
right?
talking about
We've
the
we've heard
leader.
right,
Yeah,
right.
we're talking about a leader. So although I do get what you're saying, the media edits, but there are certain things you can't edit. Like
Hmm.
when George, see the thing about it, what's so funny is George Bush, when he became president, John Lewis didn't go to his inauguration, but George Bush was at his funeral. So again,
Right.
as a brother of the scriptures, your actions speak louder than your words,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
is not a word; it's an action. Okay,
Right.
Mhm.
so then in my position is when you saw a need of HBCU and their underfunding, fine, you helped them, but you can't tell me if you don't see a need. And this is my question to you, brother. This is my question to you. If you don't see a need of reform in police, and matter of fact, if you go look at the Axios HBO interview, he
Yo,
actually
that
stated
oof,
he
yeah.
hold on. He actually made the statement that yeah, he there's a problem with systematic injustice in law enforcement. Now, bro, you take that statement, not misedited, then does not Donald Trump have the authority to fix that problem like he did with the HBCU? Not saying things,
He's the leader
doing
of the
things.
executive branch.
Does
Mhm.
he not have that does he not have the ability, in my opinion, I mean, in your opinion, does he not have the ability to fix the problem? And if so, then why are you not supporting or requiring him as it relates to your support for him to do more? Again, the gate is open. The cows are going to greener pastures,
And they
but
getting
somebody
picked
got that
off.
sniper gun and they're
Right.
going to work. And
Yeah.
and as long as it's not in your family, then it's okay. That's what I'm hearing. But I promise you, every person that sits here, if one of your family members became victim to this systemic injustice, I believe we would have a different tone of speech. So my
Absolutely.
question
Mhm.
to you is number one, does he not have the ability to do more and not just speak on it? And if so, why is he not consistently doing for the HBCUs as he could for criminal justice? That's my
Bec-
question to you.
yeah, yeah. Because when it comes to the HBCUs and organizations that are already doing it, that are already at the private level doing things to affect change, it's easy for someone who holds an executive office to require that I'm not going to sign this bill until you allocate X amount of monies to go toward HBCUs. You know what I mean? You're able to allocate certain funds to go to that thing. When it comes to the messiness of the different issues that exist in any given community with regard to policing, with regard to the different issues that exist in those communities and so on. You know, I mean, there is federal funding that goes toward police departments and so on. I do believe that there are measures that can be taken to say, well, you know, if you can't show evidence of how blacks are being treated by police versus how whites are being treated by police, then you do not qualify for this funding. I do believe that there's measurements that can be taken for that. I do believe that there should be more of a push to see what's the likelihood of a black person who commits a crime to be convicted and sentenced at a heavier rate than whites who commit that same crime under that same judge. I do believe that there should be money that is being allocated to go into that kind of data finding, and that data should be available to the American people and used by the American people when it comes to voting for different judges and so on. You know what I mean? Because I think that we live in a democratic republic. We have the ability to pull the lever for people whose values align with our own. And so whenever we are left in the dark and we're not aware of what's going on and who's running game on us, then we're going to keep voting for the same people, not realizing that we're making things more detrimental for ourselves. But to your question of, do I believe that he can be doing more with regard to restricting or giving more funding to people, municipalities that use or abuse funding? I do believe that he can be doing more. And I do know that there are pushes that are being made on his behalf to do more. In the messiness of politics, this is the last point. And the messiness of politics with branches competing politically, competing for airtime, competing for sound bites, competing to be looked favorably upon by the American people. You have a lot of gridlock. You have a lot of different things that don't allow even the most noble of policies to be pushed through. I mean, take a look at this last stimulus package. As a conservative, I don't, a fiscal conservative who believes that you don't want to put yourself deeper into debt. I'm personally against the stimulus package, but I do think that there's an argument that could be made for a stimulus package. And there's a lot of good things in the last stimulus package. Democrats in the House
at its finest. Look at us.
Yeah, exactly. Democrats in the House squashed it, even though they want to spend a lot of money, not because, they thought it was bad, but because Republicans' names were on it. So there's a lot of gridlock, and the American people are left holding the bag. But I know I'm jumping around. To answer your question, I guess my mind is wandering, but I do believe.
Oh, it's another episode to come. Just know,
I do believe to answer your question. Is it Brenton? That there is
you want to call me, brother. It's okay.
Shut up, man.
Stephen. So listen. I want to say this, brother.
And yes, I do believe that there's more that he can be doing to.
Yes, and I'm gonna tell you something, man. You are toting that line, and I cannot degrade your position. Because and I will say this, just because I'm not a left or a right, because there has been both opportunities that Democratic had both House, Senate, and President, as well as on this side, and through all those generations, from the time LBJ signed the Civil Rights
Civil Rights Act of 1964
legislation, right? Yeah. So now we've always had systematic injustice. So I can't blame one man. Right. So that's what I'm saying. So don't get me twisted when I say this. I can't blame one man for not fixing a mess that people should have been doing for years. I'm with you. I just my and again, I don't want to play semantics. I'm not really down with the easy stuff. That's why we put you in office, to get in the mess. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So although we applaud you for the HBCUs, Doc, put the plow to the grass, man, and get rid of. Let's do something. Listen, you're going to tout that you're doing more for black people, then dog, put it on the paper. You know what I'm saying? And let me see that you're not willing to just do with the education part, but dog, make sure that if we're going to make the money, we get to keep the money. You know what I'm saying? We get to
But
spend it, and it's not on our funerals.
Why should we dismiss, those milestones that are made simply because of their ease or difficulty, their level of ease or difficulty?
Yes. And that's a great question. I would say this. And I think the HBCU was a good move, but okay, let's go back then because we talk stats and numbers. What is the graduation rate of African American people? Like when we
not very high.
So how effective is it to give money to the college and we miss high school, junior high, middle, elementary?
Because the thing is, you want to give money to what's working. HBCUs are turning out very beneficial pillars of society. Doctors, attorneys, so on and so forth.
I see that as a problem.
The public school system is fundamentally broken. We have people using our kids as guinea pigs, trying out all these different curriculums and so on that don't help, that don't benefit kids. Or schools today are more of a daycare than they are a beacon of academia.
So why are we not putting the funding there? That's my question. Why are we not putting the money there?
We've tried. We continue to throw money at public schools,
and that's what I'm saying. So if we're going to fix the system, and and we talk about, because I do see HBCU as like the easy fix. It was the easy fix, right? Like I went to HBCU. I love an HBCU. I plan on getting my master's from an HBCU. However, if we know fundamentally before we get to the HBCU, there's an issue, there's a problem. Why are we not putting our efforts and our money towards fixing?
We are putting efforts and money into it. Like there are literal policies that are pending that are geared toward helping specifically Black low-income communities. School choice is a huge example of it. But what happens? Well, the teachers unions, they get together and they try to say, well, this isn't going to benefit these kids. And that's the thing. It's like we've tried the public school system for decades, and things seem to get worse more than they are getting better. Why not give the parents a choice to send their kids to whatever school they see fit and have the vouchers and the monies to do so? You know what I mean? Because not every kid learns the same. All kids are different, and it should be left up to the parents to decide where their kids are going to go to school. And so why not reallocate funds in the form of vouchers, give those vouchers to the parents to decide where their kids are going to go to school? You know what I mean? Whether it be a magnet school, whether it be a charter school, whatever the case may be. Why must we continue to put money into a broken system that is, I don't think that as taxpayers, Black or white, we're getting a return on our investment with our tax dollars going into the public school system. And so why should we throw more money at that system instead of reshaping the system in such a way that our kids actually benefit?
Because the only way we're going to reshape it is that we have to throw money. We have to put money. Teachers, I feel like,
have one of
the biggest responsibilities, and we've talked about this before. China and like Japan, those countries see teachers as nation. They call them nation builders, and they're revered almost as high as political whatever. And
there's also a lot of propaganda in China.
Well, I'm talking about the value of teachers. There is a lot of propaganda. There's propaganda here, but what I'm saying is, from our perspective, teachers are not paid enough. Teachers, if we want to talk about it, teachers are nowhere near paid enough. But again, if we know the system is broken, back to the HBCU situation, like let's fix before we get to the HBCU. I feel like if we fix what happens before the HBCU, we wouldn't have to necessarily build the HBCU out.
But the point that I'm making is that there are efforts to fix the broken system before they get to the HBCUs. It's not either or. It's collective, and that's the thing. Like when I look at I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brenton.
I want to say this, man, because I know you guys know you kind of taking the exit off to the school system.
Yeah, we gonna come back. We'll come back. That was
reverse me. I want to reverse back because this is what I want to say about Trump. I see where you at, brother, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Like you said something that kind of piqued my interest. Is that he's President Easy Fix, right? And I guess I can't really fault him, because he wasn't the original problem to our system.
Right.
But the problem is why we don't respect the good that he's done is because he's being counterproductive with his speech. Although you don't recognize his speech, we have millions of other people who are,
Right.
right? And it's not allowing him to benefit from what he is doing, which is the easy fixes. Which, see, the problem is, I've been married a long time, and ain't no easy fixes with complicated situations. Okay, and I'll leave that right there. But that is where I get in trouble. So I'm just saying, right? So,
Oh,
yeah, so I'm going to just tell you, right? And all the men say that, man. All right, then. So
oh
at that moment,
Lord.
bro, I can't respect you. Listen, you're asking more praise for the amount of work you
The
putting
work
in.
that you've done,
If you're
right?
gonna get the
Absolutely.
easy fixes, yeah, if you're gonna get the easy fixes, which that's what I'm going to tout what you saying that he's done. I'm gonna put those in the category of easy fixes, right? But my problem is that stop asking for so much praise, bro. When you only doing the easy fixes and you're losing political capital with how you are wanting to stir up problems. See, the problem is, Chad. This is my issue with Trump now. As I'm listening to you speak, and I'm telling you, man, you are helping me navigate my position because it makes more sense to me. Trump is wanting to uh, his narcissistic ways is almost defeating his easy fixes because he wants us to be in joy to look up at all the things he's doing, but yet still see the people are shackling our ankles that's
Right.
not allowing us to move forward with y'all.
Things that
That's
matter
my
to us.
only issue with this.
Right. Things that
Yeah,
really matter
man.
to us.
Listen, get in the right and you use the point of you're a filmmaker and you're a musician. As an artist, you can't get praise for no one hit wonder, right? You can't get praise for no movie. You got to get in there and give me some of that Steven Spielberg,
You gotta have
right?
consistency.
You got yes, that's what I'm talking about, and that's what I'm saying, right? Get in that film room and go to work and stop saying, oh man, look what I did. I did Soul Plane. Don't nobody care about you doing Soul
Yeah,
Plane,
we made a 20
right?
minute short film.
We
Like,
right. We want you to do Get Out. That makes everybody say, huh? Right. So before you leave office, man, you don't make people hate you because you keep trying to narcissistically give yourself the praise. But what you're doing is to say, man, yeah, I did the easy stuff. Now y'all go do the hard work. That's really what it boiled down to, right? Because he only got 4 years, well, or maybe 8, but he just gonna do the easy stuff.
we don't know.
But the
We
reason
don't
why
know.
people won't give him his due, the people won't give him his due, is because he's wanting big praise for easy fixes when you should be getting easy praise for the fixes that you're doing. So that's my problem. And again, I would love one day to talk about this scripture stuff. You keep talking about Donald Trump, man, because listen, I ain't
So
saying he's
so
the most immoral person,
so
but
check this
man, I
out.
don't like
We
that
gonna
with
we
his
gonna
heart.
end it here. Like we gonna put a plug here
Oh man,
because like this thing got real good.
woo!
And this
You don't
is
fill this
we
tub
gonna
up, Doc.
listen. We're gonna do another follow up episode because I feel like that's what the people want. And so be the people. We gonna get the people what they want. We gonna give them what they need. But yeah, I thank y'all for coming on. I appreciate it. Like this is amazing and excellent dialogue. I cannot wait to pick up this dialogue. This is super excited.
Chad, we gotta go eat lunch, man. Let's
Yeah,
Yes,
let's
schedule.
do
like
it. Let's do it. Are
like
you local?
yes, like it's up to us to
I
be
don't
the
know wherever
people.
you are.
I'm
Um,
in. I'm
tune
in
in,
DFW.
tune in real quick, y'all. Give me a sec.
Yeah.
Tune in next week. Let me in the show. We'll talk in the green room, y'all. Thank y'all for being with us. Tune in next week to be the people. I had something planned, but the way this went, y'all listen. I don't know what's gonna happen
I don't
next
get no
week.
final thought.
No, it's not over. It just can't be the final thought because there's more to be said.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So
okay. It's John Wick Part
absolutely.
2. All right, I got you.
Yeah, there will definitely
Yeah.
be a part two. But again, thank y'all for being with us tonight, and we will see y'all next week. Love y'all. Remember to be the people. Out.
Yes, sir.
I think that's it.
Woo-wee. That was a good one, Doc.
Yeah, man. I think the feed is still live. I don't think it ended yet.
Is
It's
it?
still,
I'll go for